I decided not to do a punny intro for this movie. Figured it was becoming a bit of a bad habit. Hello everyone and welcome to RotD Review of the Day, and today I am filling some RotD Souls requests and reviewing the 2018 movie, The Nun. If there's a particular movie you want me to review, please leave a comment below. Otherwise, to get into this movie, I want to preface this by saying that I had pretty high hopes and expectations for it. I am a big fan of the Conjuring series, The Conjuring, Conjuring 2, even to a little bit lesser degree, Annabelle and Annabelle Creation, but I thought they were at least worthwhile entries into the Conjuring universe that has been trying to be established by James Wan. And I thought that the nun character in The Conjuring 2 was one of the scarier, better elements of the film. So I was really excited when the standalone movie was being made and coming out. And where I wound up landing with it is those high hopes and expectations that I had were really not met. And if I had to find an overarching fundamental issue, I think it was one of balance. This movie had to carefully balance delivering a good storyline, the origins of Valak and the nun character in a contained plot line, while also delivering a good scary movie. And I think it really had trouble figuring out where that line should be, what balance it should find, and the entirety of the film suffered as a result. To get into a breakdown of things, let's get into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the plot of this one, I actually thought fundamentally was actually not too bad. This followed the character of Sister Irene and Father Burke, sent from the Catholic Church to investigate a nun who had hung herself on the outside of a cloistered abbey in Romania. A villager was dropping off some goods to the abbey and saw her hanging by a noose in front of the abbey and reported it. So now they're investigating. And when they do, they find more than they bargained for, and so on and so forth, and the abbey is more dangerous than they thought, and the movie just really kind of takes off from there. Ultimately, my biggest problem with the plot and why it didn't get significantly higher is it's a fundamental issue that I see in a lot of horror movies, is this was trying to be way too big. Too much explained, too much power for the Valak character, which ultimately wound up forcing the characters into having to do the instant win trope kind of thing, where if you have a godlike character and so on and so forth, oh yes, but if we have completely overpowering anything else, humans don't stand a chance. But if we have this particular dagger of Xenophore, then we can stab him in the toe and we win. And that's ultimately kind of where this wound up going. And I think to have a scary movie, again, this is balance between telling a story and having a scary movie. To have a scarier movie, they really needed to bring it down to a smaller level, not have it quite so big, not have it quite so powerful. Be more, powerful is one thing, but make it more intimate. If you think about one of the scarier movies of all time, The Exorcist, the demon character in there never really extended beyond just the room, much less the apartment, much less the block, much less bleeding out into the evil, infesting the townfolk. No, it was just that room. But you know what that did is it compressed and it condensed that terror, so that when you saw people going up the stairs, the rest of the apartment was relatively safe. And that was the interesting thing, is you had the mother character, Ellen Burstyn there, and the priest talking downstairs in the living room, and you had a feeling of safety. But as they walked up the stairs and you saw the door, it was absolute dread knowing that they are about to walk through that door and what they are about to walk into. It was condensed. It was intimate. It didn't extend beyond into the city. It wasn't a worldwide epidemic ranging from this heart where a bunch of Catholic priests had to go down in dozens and dozens of waves of attacks of, so on and so forth. No, it was one room, one girl at stake, and that was it. But it was immensely terrifying. And this movie was just trying to be too big. It needed to be more intimate. The scares needed to be more condensed by having the storyline more condensed and the setting more condensed. That I think that would be, from a plot and from a writing standpoint, I think that would be my biggest complaint to this and why it didn't get significantly higher in the score. The intent, I gave a 5 out of 25. This succeeded in delivering us the backstory of Alec. It did. We got the sense of, how it came into the world, why it, progressed into the world of The Conjuring. But the problem was, for being a horror movie, there were no scares to be had. It really did try, and I think that ultimately it just failed. And every single jump scare it tried, it never really succeeded. The characters that developed, I thought were okay, but they just weren't terribly interesting. Sister Irene and Father Burke there were just kind of there. They were there in service of delivering us the origin story, and that was pretty much it. The end result was a movie that was just a bit of a snoozer, and for when we're talking about a James Wan universe, the last thing a horror movie should be is a snoozer. So, I really can't give it any more points beyond the fact that it did deliver us the storyline. We now have it. But it wasn't a whole lot different between watching this movie and reading a Wikipedia entry. We have the information. Sadly, it wasn't delivered to us in a very satisfying format. The acting, I gave a 13 out of 25. No real complaints to be had here. It was not bad acting. Damien Bichir as Father Burke and Tessa Farmiga as Sister Irene were actually very competent, very good on screen. They weren't really given a whole lot to work with. They didn't get to see any kind of range or character development to speak of. What was there, I liked. But there was just nothing that really set it apart from, I would say, any other major well-done performance. The technical, I gave a 13 out of 25. The camera works were good. The effects were good. The set dressing and everything was good. But nothing really worked in service of the scares. And for that, I really have to deduct quite a bit of points because I think that's a really big problem on the technical side between directing and I think especially editing. Good, creepy, elemental scares are usually found in directing. Good quality jump scares are usually found in editing. And I think both kind of fell flat. And it just didn't deliver what I was going for when I, started watching this movie. There's a certain level of expectation now when you go into a, Conjuring universe, James Wan inspired universe, Blumhouse kind of universe, that whatever the plot and the character failings might be in the movie, you're going to get scared. You're going to have some very good jump scares. You're going to be startled and rattled, and that's going to be the roller coaster fun of the movie. And it just didn't. And that's ultimately where I wound up with this, a total of 45 out of 100 points, which by all accounts is not a terrible movie. I have certainly reviewed worse. I have reviewed movies that were way lower in the score. But the real shame of this is this should have been a movie with an 80 or 90 point score handily. But I just can't give it that much. It just wasn't interesting enough. It wasn't scary enough. And it had no right to be this low. So, not bad, just a disappointment. And that's pretty much where I landed with it. I would like to hear from you. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I would love to hear comments below. If you like these videos, I encourage you to click subscribe. Thank you for joining me here today. I really do appreciate it and making me a part of your day. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.